Today on the Locked On Rockies, with the holiday season here, you're going to have to handle the tough conversations around the dinner table. Like, why did you spend so much time watching the 2025 Colorado Rockies?
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 27th day of November in the year 2025, a.k.a. Thanksgiving Day here in the United States. Thank you so much for making us your first listen on the day of a holiday like this. Appreciate you hanging out with us here, and I hope you enjoy your Turkey Day, and I hope the wonderful meal and family and friends and all that stuff is a good time. Good time to start celebrating all the fun of the season. And we'll dive into that. We'll lean into that a little bit today as we're going to talk about, the holiday season brings the chance of having tough questions. And you might get grilled on your Rockies fandom here and questioning why you were so loyal and dedicated to your beloved Colorado Rockies here around the Thanksgiving dinner table today. So let's give you some tips on how to handle it and how to prepare for certain questions here as we get ready for Thanksgiving and a little bit of a light-spirited, fun episode here. Before we go any further, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Okay, so I wanted to just do something a little fun here. And hypothetically speaking, you might be sitting there and enjoying your food here, and you're a family member, your uncle, your cousin, your aunt, your grandma, somebody comes up to you and says, I know there's the one thing that you care about more than anything in the world, and it's Colorado Rockies baseball. What the heck happened in 2025? Now, you can approach this question with a lot of things. You can go with the simple and short answer and just say it was a catastrophic failure across all aspects of the game, underperforming in pitching, offense, and fielding, and being uncharacteristically bad in certain areas. You could be a little bit, a little bit softer with that explanation and say that a young roster just was proven to be outmatched, and the development questions that have been facing the organization were on display during the year as guys were given opportunities, as the Rockies were one of the youngest teams in baseball in 2025. And unfortunately, those guys didn't necessarily seize every moment and, take advantage of all of the opportunities of a season that was overall lost. Those would probably be the easier things. But if you have someone that wants the deeper dive, the bigger look, you have to go out and you have to point out the fact of this is the Rockies have been declining year over year for over half a decade now. And the Rockies haven't made a bunch of decisions. I shouldn't say conscious. That's not the right word there. The Rockies have not made proactive decisions. And that on top of it all, as we're seeing with the exodus of people from these positions, the philosophy and the thought process and the plans and the ideas weren't working for the Rockies. And whether that be people having their own ideas and not really fully executing them, or going out there and being able to put up a cohesive plan together that works across the organization, or you can just, or you look at it at the fact that they just weren't able to get the job done when it comes to selecting talent in the beginning rounds, rebuilding this roster through player development. That's the biggest thing. I think the main takeaway I think a lot of people will have in the wake of all this. And as we look back on this, it's a team that spent a lot of time telling us they were doing this one thing. And then when it was put on full display, it was clear that the Rockies were not this draft and development team that we thought they were, and that the help was that the help to change, to turn things around from the organization that was supposed to come from within. There's a lot of question marks there. There's stuff that hasn't panned out, as we've seen a lot of players now moving on, and a couple of DFAs and non-tendered contracts and trades, and we can also see still having question marks about some of the guys selected in the draft. So I think that would be an area that you'd have to highlight specifically. It's like, when you're asked what exactly has gone wrong, I mean, as much as you can point to is a million examples, that's where it all starts. The Rockies being in the predicament that they are in right now is directly because they failed at the development side. And then on top of that, it's a team that rolled the dice on Chris Bryant, and it has continued to not work when you're talking about a guy that you expected not only pay him a lot of money for, but a guy that you expected to be an impact guy through now multiple seasons, now 4 seasons missing, the time, still just barely playing. Has he reached 162 total games? Can't remember. I've kind of blocked that out. And on top of the approach and rehab of some of these guys that you thought were going to be successful at Coors just didn't pan out. It's as much as we talked about it, that would be another like main key thing. If you're one of the follow-up questions you're asked is, well, what specifically went wrong with the pitching staff? It was 3 guys that were in the rotation. And again, Kyle Freeland, you can kind of give or take a little bit there when as the dust has settled on the season overall, what he did. But you can look at Antonio Senzatella and you can look at German Marquez, and you can say that the 2 veteran guys that the Rockies really needed this year, really needed to do damage, to pull weight, to show us that they're still, that they are still the pitchers they are pre-injury. They didn't do that. And again, we could see now, after this buildup, after pitching through air, we could see next year being a much more successful season for both of them, wherever German ends up, and for Senza out of the bullpen. But that is another main takeaway that you would have to tell someone, is that not only was it a young pitching staff that got in trouble and looked outmatched, the veteran guys that the Rockies were hoping to see return to form didn't. And that also, that return to form, same with Ezekiel Tovar and Brenton Doyle. I think overall, when to answer that question, and like I said, that's if you have the long-winded one. But if you need the more medium answer, you can say the Rockies have not successfully been able to develop talent for a few seasons now, and has not been able to have not been able to develop a roster of solid major league talent. And mixed with that, guys that you were hoping were going to have an impact, guys that you were hoping were going to be game changers for you in 2025, just didn't cut it. So that's the big main question, right? Of what went wrong, and how you can answer things. And let's dive into the fan side, because you might get pressed on, why are you still watching? Why do you still care? How do you still have interest in a team that just did what they did? Let's talk about that coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel, and it is an absolutely jam-packed holiday sports weekend. We got football here on Thanksgiving Day. We got football on Black Friday. We got college football on the weekend. We got the NBA and the conclusion, I believe, of pools play or group play for the NBA Cup. And you can get in on all that action at FanDuel, because there is no better place to get in on the action other than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting. And like I said, action all weekend long, especially when your team's making that late push. And listen up. If you're interested in getting in on the action this weekend, your first $5 bet, when it wins at FanDuel, it's going to get you $300 in bonus bets for new customers. Yes, that's right. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Locked On Rockies here, back with you for segment number 2 of today's episode of Locked On Rockies, as we're navigating the tough situations. A lot of people face this, and when you're heading home for the holidays, you got differing opinions, and I know the conversation that will be at the top of every Colorado sports fan's discussion list around the Thanksgiving table this year is what the heck's going on with the Rockies, and why did you, as a fan, spend all your time? Why are you still going to Coors Field? Why aren't you boycotting? Why are you giving the Monforts the money? Aren't you fool? They aren't worth your time. They haven't. It's the clown show. You're enabling everybody. Well, if you've listened to the show, I think that one's a little bit more of a convoluted and personal answer. Because I am not one to say do not enjoy Rockies baseball your way, and that varies for people, and enjoy it, of course, in a respectful way as well. You can't let your enjoyment, cross lines, so to speak. But I think for me, again, as I say, on top of being paid for this is the sports team that I care about, and as much as it's a ride or die thing and a silly thing, and there's a lot better baseball teams for me to be interested in and to look at and such, you gotta hope that there is growth from this, and that it will be worth your time, because in reality, I don't think there is a good answer for the Rockies fan out there. If people are saying, why do you keep tuning in? It's just your love of sport. It's your love of the team. It's your love of baseball. And if the Rockies are your team, whether they're one of the worst teams in baseball history or trying to make a crazy run through October and have some exciting moments, they're your squad. And love them or hate them, if you're the type of sports fan that is a ride or die sports fan, then you got to go through this trial. I mean, because they're your team. I mean, how much? I'm curious how much other. I don't watch as much baseball. I watch a lot of Rockies baseball, and I should watch more. But I think people would probably think, I'm crazy when I say I watch more Rockies baseball than any other baseball, and that would be the case with or without hosting the show. That's how I've always been. But I think the answer is to why are you going to come back in 2026? Why you're going to sign yourself up for another season of Rockies baseball is just for buying into what new possibilities might come from the change that you're seeing within the organization. As there's a footnote, a caveat, a catch. You could look for all of those things, right? You can always find something. You can have your criticism, as we've been talking about this week about the manager hire. You can have your criticisms about DePodesta and the Monforts, like I did when it was initially announced. But now at this stage, you have to hope, and you have to hang on to the fact that hopefully this is a true, fresh, new approach to the game. Hopefully this is an opportunity for this team to really prove us wrong. Hopefully these guys that didn't capitalize on their opportunities this year, when they get that second audition in 2026, they thrive. And then if they do that, then it's going to be a lot more fun. And even if it's just the finding the small victories and finding the, and enjoying a season that goes a little bit better than we have the past 3 seasons, you can at least start building up that things might be trending in the right direction. You gotta give at least a little bit of the benefit of the doubt that they're going to implement something that could turn it around. Again, I'm stretching here. I understand the doubts of the person questioning you, this really intense person that for some reason is super fixated on your passion and love for the Colorado Rockies at the Thanksgiving table. But if you're just solely going to extinguish all possibility of hope or change, then is it worth your time? Is it worth your time to just do something and sign up for being miserable, basically? Because as much as I criticize, as much as I have issue, I still have deep down the small little bit of hope that I hold on to, that someday, somehow, these things are going to turn it around. And when that happens, it's going to be a special season and a special time to be around this team. And people are going to be able to be infected by some of the best sports vibes possible, which is a good Colorado Rockies team. There is nothing like a competitive Colorado Rockies team. Denver would flock and fully embrace it as they have in the past. So that's got to be it, right? You don't hold on hope because you like the farms, just the farm system. Maybe that I shouldn't say that. There could be a million reasons why you hold on hope, because I say the farm system where there's a lot of people doing great work that are very focused on the Rockies farm system. When we're talking about Blake Street Banter and a lot of the folks got cover the Rockies, because that's a very important part of everything. But you're a fan because it's your team, right? And you got to hope that they bounce back. Now, you might give that impassioned speech. You might say all that stuff. You might talk the Hallmark movie on the holiday speech to make everyone feel all warm and fuzzy. But couldn't really blame people if they remain critical of not only the Rockies and doubtful of the future of the team, because that's the harsh reality for the Rockies fan as well. There is so much that has to be done. There is so much that has to be changed that you can't just latch on to, hey, look at this, I feel good about this move. They did hire this person. It's got to be, the work has to be put in after that. But above all, I think I think to put a bow on the fan and being a fan thing, I wouldn't let anyone shun you or put you down for going and watching and supporting the Rockies, because as I've said on this show before, it's way more complicated when you're talking about supporting the Mumfords and they're never going to sell. There's so many layers and everything in that. You enjoying a cheap ball game, or at least a cheap ticket to get in, and enjoying baseball in your backyard, it's okay. There's no reason to feel like you're enabling the enemy, or you're enabling where the Rockies are at, because people are going to buy tickets regardless. And it's clear that people that aren't Rockies fans that would love to travel. So why not enjoy yourself and enjoy the fact that a thing that the Rockies do well, which is a great game day experience. There's a lot of layers into the ownership stuff there, and it's an even more complicated topic than I've even been able to dive into. I mean, there's just so many elements that go into that. But I would hate for someone to feel not excited about someone hooking them up with some Rockies tickets this holiday season, and they're a Rockies fan just because they're like, oh, what is this person on the internet or what is my friend going to comment on my social media post to me enjoying my seats at Coors Field? That'd be a shame. I don't really think that's going to happen. Like I'm sure it's not being taken that serious, but you do still see those comments. But hey, if you're someone that firmly believes that giving the organization money and supporting the team during a time where they are not successful, have been poorly run, have been poorly managed, and there's a lot of criticism for this organization, I ain't faulting you there either. I'm not sitting here and telling you that you're in the wrong there. I just think that it's there's a lot of layers to the conversation, right? There's a lot of things to consider on top of when you're figuring out how the ownership and how to facilitate facilitate a sale of that team. All right. There's a little fun, little philosophy, little just gabbing here for you guys. What I would love to know, actually, please in the comments here, let me know what you talked. If you talked about the Rockies during Thanksgiving, drop it in the comments. I'd love to know what those conversations are. I'd love to know what the buzz around the Rockies are. Are people a little more interested because of the changes? Are people doubtful because of the manager stuff? Are they just doubting because it's the Rockies? If you actually do talk about the Rockies, if someone does come up to you at the dinner table and grills you about the Colorado Rockies, please put it in the YouTube comments. I'd love to hear about it. All right, let's take a break. Let's read some comments and wrap things up for this holiday edition of Locked On Rockies. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime, and the NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets, especially to the Broncos, and especially when the Broncos are at the top of the AFC, getting tickets can be a hassle. Queues, login screens, price jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. That's why you should use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. You can pull up the Gametime app, and every time I've pulled up the app to see last-second deals, NFL tickets for as low as $100. For me, I've gotten into, hockey. I've gotten into shows, all with great deals, all shortly before. Because, hey, I was confident that Gametime's got me covered with a great price and the Gametime guarantee. It's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way you're going to buy tickets. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. Folks, wrapping things up here on the Locked On Rockies podcast for this Thanksgiving episode. And I want to say thank you for making us your first listen of the day or tuning in throughout the year, and all your support helping making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network and continuing to make Locked On Rockies enjoy its biggest year yet, despite it being the toughest year to be a Rockies fan. The Rockies fans have tuned in. Rockies fans have supported the show. And as we're at a point where we're, talking about things we're thankful for, things, talking about things that we're grateful for in our lives as the year winds down and we reflect on things, how can I not be thankful for the audience here on the Locked On Rockies podcast? I mean, you guys are all really, really awesome. We have a dedicated group of people that tune in, leave comments every day. The people that are completely part of the show. And, we wouldn't be in this position. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I wouldn't be where I'm at here on the pod. And we wouldn't see the numbers that we're seeing if it wasn't for you guys. And obviously that means that the sky's the limit, as there are a lot of Rockies fans out there that want to have their voices heard. And, they know that they can come on over to the Locked On Rockies podcast and be part of the show and enjoy, hopefully, a great Rockies podcast each and every day. I really appreciate all the support. Really means a lot that people continue to tune in and hang out with us here, especially during an off season where why on earth would you even be considering being interested in the Rockies after, May of this year, really? But folks have tuned in. Folks have hung out throughout the season. Folks have been locked in this offseason as we are navigating a really, really big offseason for the Colorado Rockies. A lot of decisions, a lot of moves, and a lot of questions to be asked and to be answered here. And I'm happy to do it alongside our great audience here. Let's read a couple of comments here from the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. Alan says, I think it might have been demoralizing to the clubhouse for a new regime to get rid of someone who the players seemed to like. If the players were for keeping Warren Schaefer, then I think it was probably the best move for this season. Of course, this is on our episode talking about how much change, how impactful can Warren Schaefer be now going into this year, knowing he's the manager and just in the role of manager. That was Wednesday's episode. From here, Schaefer will prove that he was the right hire and he will lead them to the playoffs, or he will be a manager for a few years of the rebuild until the Rocks find the right guy. That's really it, right? I mean, that's what I was kind of talking about with one of my Rockies buddies. I think this is a ceiling where the ceiling is a little bit higher for possibility if he outperforms what he can do, if he's able to manage and build lineups and get the most out of guys and yada yada yada, and the Rockies play competitive baseball. I ain't gonna talk about playoffs there. Well, that's an extra ceiling, but I think the floor is the Rockies are who the Rockies are right now. The Rockies roster is what it is. The Rockies are in an interesting financial situation compared to other teams in the league, and they're also going to be approaching these new contract negotiations, and that's probably not good enough. But I think the floor for Schaefer is a better performance than last year, because I think given his ideas, given his lineup philosophy, his relationship with the guys, I'd have to imagine if he had the reins to start the year, it would have been slightly better. I'm not saying things would have gone a lot better because we had a different manager and Bud Black's to blame for all this stuff, but who knows, right? Manager isn't on the field plan. It's a different story there. Garvin says, Schaefer is a person who teaches and gets the best out of his players and coaches. He's a baseball person and loves Colorado. Certainly seems to be the case. Again, the reviews are glowing about him. And apparently D. Podesta didn't do any other interviews. It was just with Schaefer, and that was it. We'll react to more from that press conference that was held before Thanksgiving on Friday coming up as well. Here's Randy. I agree with you and others on Schaefer, but he is on a short leash. GM is more valuable for me. Here's my dream infield for 2026. Third, Karros, shortstop, Tovar. Second, Estrada / Ritter. First, surprise move, Goodman in trading for Ford. Catcher for Mariners because Raleigh is anchored in Seattle. Oh, no, man. Ford. I love the dream scenario, but I think they really like that guy still too. And is there a world where Cal Raleigh just becomes a DH sooner rather than later? Maybe, I don't know. But I like the rest of it. I don't know about Estrada would have to be on a deal, right? Because they declined the option. I guess what was it, arbitration? I can't remember if it was so. Fine. I just don't know if Estrada. I would like to kind of see Ritter win the job in spring training. I'd like to see him, have a Hunter Goodman like moment where he says, "Hey, I'm playing too good for you to not play me," and take off from there. But The rest of that, sure, certainly. Karros would be an interesting case at third. I just don't think they're going to get Ford there from the Mariners. I just don't know what you would have and what you would be giving up. Certainly, probably a Brenton Doyle mixed with some other young guys as well. But who knows? We'll have to see. Folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB and Locked On MLB Game Night. And, of course, if you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Avalanche, Nuggets, and Buffs, all free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.